They're astounding.
Yeah.
How did you come to this story? I know this is kind of like your second period piece, actually, right? Because you did a short fictional piece.
That's true. Yes. I did a few years ago as a first film. I did a short film, which actually was a period piece set sort of. What period was that? Sort of 18. So bad.
So my brain's a bit fuzzy today.
Sorry.
I think I've had a few too many vodkas last night. It was sort of late 19th century. That was the Tonto woman, and yeah, it's funny. I think I have a bit of a fascination with Western period. I think because of my dad. I was brought up. My dad was a great film fan and was a sort of film and theatre producer in London. So I just sort of grew up watching John Wayne films and John Ford's. I mean, the westerns were the sort of more straighter stuff. It was the sort of contemporary French movies and Hungarian films, or the odd Russian film that my dad sat me down. That was a bit wow. But really, I came to this project through Julia and Jordan. Julia's the writer, Jordan's her husband, was the producer, or one of the producers. And my manager, actually, Keith, he sent me the script and said, "Tell me what you think." And I read it. I said, "I really want to do this. I really like this," because I get sent a lot of scripts, and it just stood out as being very unusual. The fact that I suppose the story was about three women was unusual as a start. I like the fact that they were real, well-rounded characters and written as such, it just really, really appealed to me. And also I thought, even though it was a very female-centric piece, and I could see that it could become quite a sort of feminist film in a way, it really just appealed to me. I love a challenge, to be honest. I think there's a part of me that will always go for something which is more difficult. I like to try and push myself. I know that sounds a bit weird. It's like with Harry Brown, working with Michael Caine. I think I'll just turn it off. I think a lot of young directors or directors are quite afraid of working with him because he's done so many films and been around for so long. And in fact, one of the things he said to me when we were talking about a scene and we were filming a scene and I asked of him something. He said, "I've worked with John Ford, and you think, no, not John Ford, sorry, John Huston. I've worked with John Huston." And I'm like, okay. Right. Okay, well, yeah. But anyway, would you mind trying that anyway? But he was really good with me, actually. I just love a challenge, and this was a real challenge. I think the wonderful thing is I really enjoyed working with Julia over there, actually. I've spoken to her, but she wrote it, as I say, and I really like working with her because the script was great, but as probably any director, I develop things as I think they should be, for right or wrong, by the way. I'm not, And so that was great, and she was very accommodating, and we worked really well together, and developed scenes and changed things, and really moved the way it developed along. And then, beginning to, casting and finding Hailee and
how did you find
Brit.
The whole cast? I mean, the cast is
honestly,
wonderful.
It was quite straightforward. I mean, people read the script, and people read the script, they knew I was going to direct it, and they came on really quick. It was really easy. I mean, Hailee came on immediately. Sam read it. I remember we sent it to Sam on like a Tuesday, and on the Thursday his agent said he really wanted to do it. That was it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I had a really fantastic Skype conversation with Brit, actually, and Brit and I always talk about it because I was on holiday and it was just one of those things where you set the Skype up but the background is out of your control, do you know what I mean? And people were walking through it, was all but we just got on immediately, brilliantly, and I think in many ways we're not unsimilar people, actually, even though obviously I'm a guy. I'm not quite as pretty as her, but you know, she's very passionate about what she does. I immediately saw her as the role, and I think for me as a director that obviously helps. I mean, I'm sure other directors would have seen maybe someone else, I don't know, but I just thought she was fantastic. And there's something about Brit, she is very beautiful, but she's beautiful inside. I think you can sense her inner strength and personality come through. I think a lot of people are just pretty on the outside, but they don't have much strength inside. I really think she's such an intelligent woman as well. I mean, the conversation we had about the part and how she felt about it and what was important for her about the film, I just thought, wow, this could be really wonderful to work with her. You know. I just loved it. I just love working with those, and Muna as well, who plays Mad, who's my little discovery.
She's so excellent in the film.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was an amazing thing. We had a situation where there was an actress. I'm sure this happens all the time, but I've only done 2 features, so I'm not that experienced.
Right.
We had a situation where an actress couldn't do the part anymore, not because she didn't want to, but because she had another commitment that she was legally bound to do. So that was that, really. Wasn't much to talk about. But honestly, and I said this to that other actress as well, I'm very fatalist. I believe that things work out for the best. And in this situation it did. Because Muna came into my life and I saw her and gave her the chance to read for the part. And I just thought she was so amazing. It was a really emotional thing, actually. You know when you take a chance in life on something and then for whatever reason it just works out? They're kind of rare things. It's like, you know when you book a holiday and it completely falls through and you end up having to go somewhere else, but then you meet someone or something happens and you just think, it's so meant to be. That's how it was with Muna. I mean, we had this amazing thing where she came in to read for a different part. I asked the casting director if it's okay if she read for something for the main part, but I wasn't going to tell her. And the casting director was a bit like, okay, because she had all these other actresses lined up, you know. And she said, okay, you know, that's fine, Daniel.
Like for the opening scene, you mean?
She read for the opening scene, but when she came in, I knew that I didn't want her for the opening scene. I'd already made my mind that there was another lady that I was going to use for that, because I wanted Moon for the main part. That's where my heart was. And so she came in and I just said to her, you were really good in the audition, thank you very much. I wonder if you do me a favour, I just want you to read, would you read just a section of the script for me? And she said, oh, well, I haven't. I said, no, it's okay, just want to hear you read it, and could you play this part just for a moment, literally. And she said, yes, okay. So she sat down, got the script, had a look. Okay, and the cameraman put the camera on her, she started filming. And within 5 seconds, I knew she was the one, I promise you. And then she read for about a minute or so, and she did the scene, you know where she's drunk with Augusta? I think it was that scene she did.
Or no, it wasn't. It was the one where she's sitting at the table and she recounts her past experience on her previous farm.
Okay? Which is quite an emotional
yeah, I was going to say,
thing.
it's a pretty intense scene.
And she read it, and the guy who was operating the camera, who was actually an actor as well, who helped out in the casting, he started to make a funny noise. He started to cry. And Gail Stevens, who is in England is a very famous casting director, she started to cry. And all my hairs on my arms and neck were just standing up. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it was very emotional. And so Muna said, she sort of stopped, she'd see us, I was looking at her. And I said to her, that was really amazing. Would you be interested in playing that role? And she said to me, don't do that. Don't play with my emotions. Don't do that to me. I said, I'm not doing that to you, I'm being honest. Do do you want to do I would like you to do it. And so that was it.
Wow.
I said to the producers, to Jordan, Julia's husband, and the other guys from Windarts, I found Matt. She's Matt. That's it. And they were like, okay, great. Sent over like a video of the casting, and Jordan saw it and he said, oh my god. And that was it. She got the part, and I'm so happy about that, because it's a real rarity to be able to give someone that kind of a chance.
But honestly, I only give someone a chance or let them do something if I really believe they can do it. I would never do it otherwise, because I'm not that fucking stupid. For me, I love the idea of people playing a part that you don't know, because then they really become the part. You have no preconceived idea of Muna at all. You've never seen her in anything. So she is that character. And that character will always be, in a big way, how she's remembered, because it's the first thing she starts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, there's so many movie stars that play different parts, but honestly, can you remember the parts they play? They're always that big character, aren't they?
And that's actually why working with Sam was so interesting, because here's a guy who for the most part plays these huge action movie roles, but met him and realised there was a genuine, very down-to-earth man who, at the core of what he does, really wants to be a varied actor, someone who plays different parts, and that was really exciting. He is the way he looks the way he looks, and he gets off with the parts he gets because of a lot of his physicality and he's a very good looking, kind of movie. He's got a movie star look, isn't he? But he's a really good actor, Sam. He's really good.
The film has a lot of as you said, feminist kind of leanings, but it also deals with American racism and the history of that. Did you have any apprehension about doing that, especially being a British director?
Well, I'm a British director, and actually I'm a British Jew, and so I grew up with a certain degree of racism and live my life continuously with a certain degree of racism. Jewish, black, Muslim, Pakistani, there's a lot of racism around in all different areas aimed at all different peoples. I feel very comfortable handling things about race, and that it's a very American story. Only slightly concerned me initially in that I was aware that the story is set at the heart of American history in many ways, because the Civil War ultimately created the United States of America, which ultimately led to the abolition of slavery and the abolition of the slave trade, and of which Great Britain was a very big part, probably the leading part, and that's why the English and the French actually kind of became friends for a while to support the South, because obviously they didn't want to lose money. So I'm actually very interested in all that kind of stuff, and no, I'm really keen. I mean, I read a lot, and I love stories, and I love history, and that's something I've had since a kid. So at school I studied some American history, probably not to the degree that you guys do, but I'm pretty up on it actually, fairly up on it, and certainly that period now I'm quite, as far as Englishmen go, I'm probably pretty high up on it. So no, I just love a challenge. I like the fact that with sometimes it seems to me with a film you can immerse yourself in a subject that you don't know much about initially. I knew that much about it, and now I know probably that much. And okay, I'm sure you got, you obviously it's your culture and things, but I'm deeply fascinated by it, and just the horrors of that time, and how people were treated, how the blacks were treated, how ignorant they were and ill-educated they were. and that informed the way Muna's character, Mad, speaks in the film. You know, her dialogue is a lot simpler than the other two, even though the other two is fairly simple because they didn't have any great revered education. I'm just fascinated by all of that, really. Yes, I'm an Englishman, but why shouldn't I make a film that's very American? I'm sure it happens the other way around, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, I think I read something like George Clooney's making a film which is very English or something. His next film.
I can't remember.
It's something to do with the unions or something. I was just thinking, really? You really want to do that? I wouldn't want to do that. Forget about it. That's really dull. You know.
How did you find the house in the film? And also, what were the logistics of that last scene? Because the last scene is incredible.
Yeah. Well,
and it seems like you only had like one chance to do that, right?
Absolutely correct. Yeah. I mean, we actually we had such a low budget. We had just over $4 million to make the whole film, which is a very small amount of money. And so we shot the film in Romania. About 3.5 hours from Bucharest. Do you know Romania at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was really beautiful countryside, very rural, and actually, topographically, very similar to North Carolina, where the story was sort of set.
I wouldn't guess that.
You wouldn't have guessed that.
But it looks very authentic.
Yeah. It's, I think, and we looked around. It's much cheaper to film there. We could film there. We had to build everything. So we had a fantastic production designer who built everything you see. The main house, the barn, the keeping room, the saloon type of trading post that she goes to, and the Weaver farm, you know, when she discovers the dead lady in the chair. Logistically, it was very difficult. I was talking to Patrick Newall, actually, who's the line producer, and he's one of the producers, but he's the line producer basically. So he was in charge of, this is how much money you got, let's spend it with Daniel, that's it, you know. And it was a real challenge. He did an amazing job to build all we had to do for the money we had. But I just felt it was a fantastic story and worth telling. You know, I mean, we probably could have done it much more simply and not as good, but I wanted it to have some scale. I wanted you to be able to look back at the house and see the scale of their farm and feel where it was. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and yes, you're right. You know, the end scene where the girls ultimately decide they need to leave and that their life, the rest of their life, will be somewhere else, but together. We burn the house down.
It was a one-take wonder, and we had a really good special effects department, and they set it up as these guys do, and explained to us very carefully what was going to happen and how it would go and how long it would take. And we decided how we were going to film it, which in fact was very simply. You know, a simple crane shot that would come up and we'd film the house burning, and we had the soldiers who come around from behind the house from behind, which we did in different passes actually, just technically, because obviously just in case the house blew up or something, we didn't want people too near.
Right.
So it was actually very straightforward technically to do, but very spectacular to look at.
It reminded me of
on the day, and hot.
I'm sure.
You know, from a way back you could feel the heat, and what you don't see is we let it burn all the way down, and that house just becomes a torch, and behind the camera you could feel it.
It reminded me of Tarkovsky's The Sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that? He had to, I guess the first time the camera stopped working and they had to rebuild the house. I was worried about that.
Yeah, that would have been a fucking nightmare. I mean, that can happen. I mean, I had that on Harry Brown actually. I had a situation where we shot a rather emotional scene and the camera had a technical fault. The digital camera had a technical fault. And I think we did 3 to 4 takes or something like that. And we lost 3 of them. So we had to reshoot them, which was really a nightmare. But that can happen.
Yeah.
And it could have happened here.